Welcome back to season 4 of Listening to the Voices in Our Heads, a podcast where creative minds get together and talk about, well, their creative processes, especially considering we're trying to fit in a world that wasn't exactly designed for us many of the time. My name is Jenna O'Malley. I am your soul writer, author of sci-fi fantasy with dashes of romance and nerdy references, and I am joined today by an authortube sensation. This girl belongs, can't call her a girl, this fine lady, this woman, this amazing artiste has been about the authortube realm since long before I even came onto the scene. She and her sister are a pair of co-authors, and we actually talked with her sister, last month with our episode with Nicole the Blind Mage. So today I wanted to make sure that we took the time and spoke with the one, the only, Lauren Adele. Good to see you. Let's get started. Welcome back, everybody. So I have with me Lauren. She also goes by E.L. Summers as a novelist. So Lauren, go ahead and introduce yourself to us further. Tell us all about who you are, what you do, what you write. Do you belong to a YouTube channel? Where can we find you? Give us everything and anything you want to chat about right up front.
Wow. So I don't know if I can say it as eloquently as you did, but I'm going to give it a try anyway, because I can. So I'm Lauren. My YouTube channel is Author Lauren Adele, and I write fantasy, poetry, and paranormal romance. As Jenna said, I am one of the co-authors with Nicole the Blind Mage, and we're revising our debut novel, Hunted Immortal Kiss. So last year I published a fantasy anthology called Realm of Enchantments that both Nicole and Jenna were featured in, as well as myself. And it's something that surprised me with a success, and it's something that I wanted to do every year. So I figured with this year the theme would be paranormal, and hoping to have it out sometime either Halloween or after Halloween, depending on how things go. But you know how it is, like you have this mindset in your head of when things will come out, and life happens.
Life does happen indeed. That's very true. That's very true. So when you reached out to me to partake in the Realm of Enchantments one, I'd given you a character poem about my leading lady Neftiri. But your anthologies, are they poetry only? Are they short stories? Are they song lyrics? Just to double check with the entries there. And yes, I'll put info in the description box below for it.
So they're poems, but also short stories. And the reason that I tell people that I am only accepting short stories that are under 5,000 words, because I also like to go through and read the submission and do edits if I can. And I'm a slow reader, so anything more than that, it would probably be too much for me. Because for the Realm of Enchantment one, I had 12 submissions, and only 3 or 4 of them were poems. So that was a lot of reading.
That's a good point. A lot of, and they were various length short stories too. So I could see where, from a management of your time and use of your skill, that was a definite way to go. So we're going to get into our next set of questions. Do you read as well as write, or do you have another secret guilty pleasure outside of poetry, fantasy, paranormal that we haven't talked about yet?
I do like reading. Like I said, I'm a slow reader. I feel like I'm also a mood reader, so it, depending on what my mood is, will dictate what I like to read. But I feel like I spend a lot more time on social media, like with YouTube and Instagram. Like, I'll go in there to look at one thing, and then it's like, if I'm not careful of time management, I could probably spend like 2-3 hours.
Are you also into, like, because you read manga on occasion, right? Is that a conversation I recall us having, or no?
No, I've tried reading manga before, but with my vision deteriorating, it's kind of hard to get into it. And
that's a good point.
I've tried looking for digital content, but I haven't really had much luck.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Unless you do something like Webtoon or whatnot, and then again, they're not e-reader friendly or magnification friendly normally. Good point.
Which is a giant tease, because they made a manga for The Legend of Zelda, and it's like, oh, I love Zelda, I want to read this, and it's like,
and I can't.
Why?
We want affordable Braille manga, please, and thank you. That's a totally missed market, in my
Or
opinion.
just hire somebody to read it. Like, I'll take a voiceover one. Yeah.
Like how in Japan, sometimes with certain anime, they call them drama CDs, where they get dramatic readings of different scripts, and it's not anything animated to it. They should totally do that to the Sailor Moon
That
manga.
would be amazing.
That would be epic. Get the original Sailor Moon cast together and have them do a dramatic read of the manga. Please and thank you.
Well, I mean, everybody always says that the manga is better than the anime, but how would you know if you've never read it?
Correct. And I say it is because it is the original. Kind of like saying which version of the Bible's right, though. When you get into that argument, which is better, anime versus manga, that's not a conversation we'll cover today. I think we're going to cover that on our episode of Soul Care Sundays with In Defense of Fanfiction. We'll leave it to that episode.
Yay!
Yay! So has writing always been part of your life? If not, then what else? Like, what do you do career-wise? What do you do hobby-wise outside of anything writing or writing business connected?
That's an interesting question. So, part of my YouTube channel, I have started doing indie offer spotlight. So I'll reach out to authors that are interested, and I mean you've also done this because you're amazing. But I will reach out to those that are interested, and I will email them a series of questions, and then they send me back the information, and I compile that and put it on Ko-fi and YouTube. But one of the questions that I have on there is, what did you want to do as a child? Was it writing? And that's what made me think of your question. It's like, I remember as a kid, because I didn't actually lose a lot of my vision until high school. So when I was a little kid, I wanted to either write the scripts or actually like develop video games, because video games were a huge part of my life. Yeah. And
that's like a studyable writing career path now.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But you remember when we were younger, that wasn't a thing.
Correct. Do you think voiceover acting for anime, video games, and whatnot in the 90s and early 2000s probably are what are increasing video game writing then? Being, a studyable degree, maybe?
Well, I mean, even back, I feel like, I know a lot of times when me and Nicole go to Comic-Con or other conventions, that's the question I see circulate. Like, I want to be a voice actor. How do I get into it? Because it's not something that's mainstream.
I mean, one of my students is actually studying to be a voice actor. He had to move to Texas to do it, though.
Because there wasn't anything available near him?
Funimation works in conjunction with a university out in Texas for part of their acting and mass communication media program. They have a combined track in audio production that is for, like, not just dubbing, but also for doing prelay. So you could be on something that, was on Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network first. Because a lot of the people that work on a lot of the anime we like also surprisingly are like in Ed, Edd and Eddy. They're in Johnny Bravo and also did all those anime and are in like My Little Pony and stuff.
Yeah, so when you're watching one thing, you're like, that voice sounds familiar. And then when you go look up like, the cast listing, it's like they've been in like 4 or 5 other things that you've seen, and you're like, okay, now it makes sense why the voice sounds familiar.
Eric Stewart, Matt Hill, who else? Oh goodness, Scott McNeil, Brian Drummond, Travis Willingham. It's like I can name all these dudes' names, and almost all of us are going to go, they were a brony or an anime dude or both.
Yep.
Yes. So, what is your biggest fear and your biggest excitement then as an author?
Ooh. I think my biggest fear is, I guess, with even like with YouTube and stuff, like still being like unknown, is not having an outlet to get my work out there to people. And
you're fighting the algorithm. You're swimming a little bit against the current. Yeah.
But I think that's why I started doing the author spotlight, because, okay, if I'm struggling to get myself out there, I can't be the only one.
This is true. Community and collaboration are the way to go when you're an indie, honestly. If it weren't for you ladies, I probably would not have brought this back. You ladies kept after me. Jenna, let's swap. Let's swap. Like, but I put this to bed a year ago. Do I want to wake it up? So thank you, ladies. And this is something that I kind of talked to your sister about last time toward the end. You ladies do show up for so many of us here in the AuthorTube community. It's an honor to shout out to you and give back to you. Aww. Because you ladies show up as often as you can, and you only ever have a kind thing to say. At least to me personally. And the times where I've called you out, it's been kosher friendship. You're like, oh, I see where you mistook that. I'm sorry, kind of thing. And that's the furthest it's ever gone. I don't even think it's gone that far. So definitely, please go check out their channels. I visited with Lauren's sister, Nicole, last month. And I definitely think you should go and support them, not just as a pair, but individually too.
Well, because thank you for saying that, because a lot of times people think we're one person.
Well, this is something I remember the Courtney over on the Courtney Project saying about her and her co-author, because I believe they publish under one name. If I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a while since I've visited a lot of channels. I apologize if I'm wrong. But this is, one of them chose to be the social media, and the other one's like, I'm cool not my face being out there so much. But they still deserve respect as individual artists, in my opinion. So to you ladies as a pair and as separate, because you're not twins, and even as twins, you'd be your own person, you should be treated accordingly. So much hugs to you. Definitely much hugs to you. And feeling you on that fear, but I'm telling you, ladies, you two show up. You show up. So thank you. Thank you.
But I think the highlight of being an author is having something that you worked on, whether it's something that took you years to create, or like with Anthology, it was only a couple of months, but getting a physical copy of it that you can hold in your hand and like smell it and hug it and say, I did this. It's a real thing.
That, I think every author who publishes for the, who does anything that's beyond, I'm just writing this for me, because even just writing stuff for yourself to a degree has this therapeutic effect of, I can kind of put my hands on it finally. It's out of your head. It's not, you made it up, but you didn't. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, you made it up, but it's a real thing, and it's something that other people can read now because it's out there.
Correct. So speaking of things that people can read out there, tell us about your poetic process, because you write a little bit of poetry yourself, right?
Yes. I was telling Nicole this the other day that after publishing my poetry collection, Ignited Melodies, I don't know what it was, but I wasn't able to write poetry for a while, and I think the thing that helped me get back into it was reading other poets and trying to get inspired through like how they write, but also like, and I think this also affects me when I'm writing like novels too, is being fearful of like the
bingo
word vomiting. Like, okay, here's all the things in my head. I want to get it down on paper, but it has to be perfect. If it's not perfect, I don't want to write it, and then you don't end up not writing it.
Well, I don't know about you, Emberly Lily Summers, but you did it.
I love that cover, though.
Did Megan of MCAT Designs make this one as well?
No, but I want her to. I want her to make a cover, and I'm going to re-upload it with whatever she makes, because as I told Nicole, I think it's important to have consistency with your covers. And, she's now, and I have told her this, that she's her cover artist for the future. That, because if you look at the covers that she's made for other people, she does have a style.
What she means is, not judging the previous cover, but these two were done by Megan. This is my book. This is Nicole's book. So you can tell there's a play with light and dark in these covers, and I think that's why you ladies like it, honestly.
Well, and the other thing too,
Megan likes to play with contrast.
Yes, but also, like, she's very attentive to the client, and I know when she was making Nicole cover for Shadows of This, like, I think we had to make her change the title colors and the font like 4 or 5 times.
And she's so patient too. She's willing to try it out and try it on. And if you're like, it's a little off.
Yeah. At the end of the day, she wants the client to be happy. And it's not like, okay, here's my idea. Bye.
So huge shout out to MCAT Designs. I'll link Megan's page group down in the description box below, because it's because of these ladies that I got my cover designer. And
Yay.
I have, because of my Kickstarter, now recommended a ton of people to both Megan and my character artist, you ladies included, Suntroa Arts.
Yes.
So Jeremy of Suntroa Arts, you can also find him down in the description box below. We're just shouting out everybody today. So your process for poetry, is it the same mindset?
No.
Like is it, because not to compare sisters here, but last time we went over how Shadows Abyss is purposefully Poe-like. Is yours purposefully Poe-like?
No, I mean, I do like reading works by Poe, but as Nicole explained it, her work is like dark and stabby, and mine is like sunshine.
I've heard you two say that, and every time it makes me laugh, because it's true. It's true.
I mean, even when I have poems in there that deal with like mental health, because that's something that affects me, it's like, a line of hope and sunshine at the end.
You're the yin and yang to each other when it comes to looking at mental health at slightly the different side of the shadow. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. So how different is the novel writing at large? Like you said, you don't have the room to word vomit. So do you end up editing more for poetry on your own before you even let someone see it? Does it take longer? Do you need different music? Are there any kind of differences, or is your mojo to get in both kind of the same?
I think it's similar. I think it's easier for the process when writing a novel, just because it's something that I've done more of, so it's more easier. And like, even if it's word vomiting on the page, it's like I'm not trying to make it perfect. But with poetry, it's like it's very easy to maybe use the wrong word or have the wrong like rhythm to the poem and make it mean a whole different thing.
And it's literally one word throws off the whole thing.
Yeah. So a lot of times when I'm done writing a poem, I'll go over it like 100 more times, and when I think it's perfect, I'll have Nicole look at it.
And then you'll find something wrong with it.
Yeah.
That's only what happens to me. The second I think the poem is perfect, oh no, there's a typo in line 8 of that poem. I wonder if they caught it. Nope. Okay, let it be. So now there's a big difference. You don't write your poetry with your sister. You write your novels, though. What's it like being I told her I was going to ask you this. I asked her. We're going to get both sides of the coin here, too. What's it like having your sister as a co-author? And we'll get into, would you want to work with anyone else next?
Okay. It is a nice challenge. She can be a good cheerleader, but she can also be brutally honest, even if I don't want to hear it.
And that's partially because you two have known each other for how many years? -1 from one of your ages. So, yes, that's a fair observation. Do you have ground rules, though? Because your family, like, do you blend business and family or no?
Yeah, I feel like if, beginning there probably would have been ground rule, but I think now, like, we're so used to working together that we kind of figure out what works for us. I mean, on occasion we'll still butt heads and, like, we'll just, like, take a break and walk away from each other so we don't kill each other.
That's a good thing to carry over from childhood. Yeah. Adult siblings, noted. If you think your parents would tell you to go to your rooms and separate, you probably should.
Yeah.
That's a good guideline to have. So, to follow that up then, if you would want to be a co-author with anyone other than your sister, and literally sky is the limit, no limits, who would it be and why?
Oh God. That's a good question.
No pressure. Because for me, for example, J.R. Ward, if you're listening, just saying.
I would probably say Chrisanne Leclerc. She's the lady that wrote the Mortal Instruments, because every time I read her stuff, I feel like it's very similar to how I write.
Very so. There's a character that you write for in Hunted that reminds me of one of the secondary pirate characters from the novels, and they're in book 2 or 3. Really good. Yes, agreed. Anyone else?
Oh, what's her name? I'm so bad at remembering all her names. Oh, Holly Black.
Ooh.
She has like this good balance of writing like for YA, but also like children's books, and that's something I want to get into, but I've been too afraid of because that's a different mindset than writing adult.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because how do you get away with blending those two genres and not make parents hate you?
Yeah.
Because there's some of her books I would not... This is like me saying there's some of Stephen King's books that I would not want my 8-year-old to read if he were to suddenly, start reading children's Stephen King. If he wrote like those books.
I don't know if I would want to read some of Stephen King's books, man. They're intense.
Tommyknockers was not the first one to start with. I will admit that.
No, Fuchsia was not the first one to start with. Because we love animals.
Wow, you dove feet first into that deep puddle, didn't you?
Yep.
I wouldn't mind working with Stephen King once, though. I do like to write dark, so I can see where your sister might agree with me on this more than you.
Right.
Working with Stephen King. All right, so what is your advice for rebranding your work while working a full-time day job that isn't an author-connected day job?
Ooh. Scheduling time for self-care is important.
Ooh, yes. Because you guys kept saying, perfection feels like it gets in your way, and that's just a poison to your progress anyway. So definitely make sure you have that self-care to balance it out if you're feeling perfectionism on top of the scheduling chaos.
Well, yeah, and then also, like, that can just lead to burnout, because then you don't feel like you have time for anything else, even, like, things that are non-creative. And that's something I'm still struggling with, because I've never been good with time management, and now that I'm working a 9-to-5 job, and then on top of wanting to do all the authorly things, it's like, okay, I just want to sleep, that's fine. And then that backfires.
Yeah. I, as an insomniac, I will unite with you on this and admit it's not easy. I asked this question knowing that you and I kind of shared that line of existence a little bit, what are some of the self-care things you like to do? I know you and your sister tend to go and grab like coffee on occasion together. What other things do you tend to do?
I like playing video games, and I blame Nicole, but there's a digital coloring app with like paint by number, but it's on your phone.
I think they're amazing, and the reason why I love
It's
them,
so relaxing.
it's relaxing, and it's better for your brain than doing something like doom scrolling on Instagram, because those paint by number apps are actually retraining and healing, like, connections in your brain and stuff, whereas doom scrolling is using them to be addictive. Same receptors, different outcome.
Well, the other thing that's cool is that for me, with the app, I'm able to magnify it because some of the pictures are tiny.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, even before I lost my vision, I always loved coloring because it was relaxing and it was doing something artistic, because I don't think I'm artistic myself.
I don't think I am either, but people tell me I am in other ways. So take the outlet while you can and as you can, definitely. There are plenty of other things that make you probably feel really nerdy and creative, though. What nerdy things influence you most as a writer, poet, reader? Is it anime, video games, music?
Music, musicals.
Favorite musical would be what?
Phantom of the Opera.
I could see it, definitely.
He lives in the dark away from society in his own little lair.
I mean, all of us who love Final Fantasy swore that Vincent Valentine was a vampire for a reason. Come on.
Yes.
So, as far as video games and anime, what are some of your favorite franchises then?
I think anime goes Sailor Moon, Trigun. One that I wish would have continued because it did not run long enough was Air Gear.
Oh my god, I wish they would bring that back, even just with a movie or an OVA at the end. Yes, Good choice.
Very disappointed because the anime only covered like 10 or 20% of the manga. So
I want to say so, yeah. There's still a it's kind of like Robotech, where they picked and chose a lot too. They didn't tell the full story on purpose, I think, because they knew they had limited funding that last season. As far as anime goes, did you start watching it like Cartoon Network and stuff growing up, or?
Well, we had cable later on in life, so I still blame Nicole because she got me into watching like Sailor Moon and Cardcaptors.
Oh, Cardcaptors makes perfect sense for you and your sister because of the tarot and the cloud cards. Love it.
And Digimon.
I do like the digital monsters. Thank you very much. And yes, they are our champions.
Oh, nice.
I like Digimon more than Pokemon. There, I said it.
The only thing that got me into Pokemon was the game. Otherwise, I didn't really have any interest in the anime.
The Pokemon anime was just a way to advertise the card game. Yes, I'm glaring over my shoulder at my Yu-Gi-Oh! Funko Pop saying the same thing. Sorry,
we have a yapping dog.
No, you're fine. I was just about to ask if that was your doggo or my neighbor, and it's okay. So what things do you wish people would be sensitive about when writing characters whom have disabilities, either visual impairments or any other kind of disability?
I would say definitely staying away from trying to write stereotypes, even though I'm sure it's easier because then you don't have to do research. But
yeah, do your research. Stereotypes are often wrong, guys.
Do the research, but also hire a sensitivity reader. I was fortunate enough to be a sensitivity reader for
You did it for a couple of people because you did a little bit for me and gave me some feedback on book 1 with Maria.
Yeah, and then I did it for somebody else. I don't think they're on YouTube anymore, but it was for like a YouTube anthology,
Mm-hmm.
and that was fun. Like, it is interesting to offer my experience to somebody that wants to write for a character that's blind. Because
would you consider offering that as a paid service, like $100 a book or something?
Yeah, that was the other thing. Like, I was just doing it to help somebody out. Like, I didn't realize that was something you could be paid to do.
There is a need, in my opinion, a very niche, unfulfilled need for sensitivity readers. And if you are just like, hey, include your book and $100 and we're golden, because you girls would prefer it on something that an e-reader would read to you anyway, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So it'd be a freebie book for most indie authors, ebook wise then. So if you ladies were to offer such a service, please let me know so I can share. I know a lot of people would be very interested in getting that out there and contacting you for that.
Yeah, I definitely think that's something that we should add to our Ko-fi page, because I don't think that's something I've considered.
That'd be a perfect use for your Ko-fi. I'll link it down below in case they update it. Because you have Enchanting
Tale Publishing
LLC yet or no?
Yes.
Yay! Tack that LLC on there, much well deserved. So, what writing advice do you have for any author wanting to publish a book of any kind, any genre?
Sorry, my brain just went pew 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 pew.
Allow time and room for your brain to go pew 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 pew. That's 1. 2.
That they should not overthink it. I think if you have an idea for a story, that you should run with it, instead of thinking the idea isn't good enough or that it's not thought out of all the way. Because, and I only say this because I have that issue of like shiny new idea syndrome, that you have a million ideas but you haven't actually written any of them.
Stop calling me out, Lauren.
Well, I'm calling myself out.
Oh, that was a self call out. I'm like, it's like she knows.
I'm not the only one. Cool. Yes. I'm not alone in my struggle.
I think a lot of us as authors tend to have that, because you ladies have been doing so many amazing things. And I just think that it's amazing what you try to do to help others. And I think if anyone were to take anything away from watching your content, reading your books, don't give up. You ladies don't give up. If a couple of people come to mind when I think of author tubers who never give up, you two are in my top 5 for listing that.
Aww.
You really are. So
you're not just making me cry.
You two are like OG in my opinion, and that's because you were there before me. So what other advice do you have for any other author? Maybe for poets?
And I feel like this is something that I'm still struggling with, is like trying to find a poetry community.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, like I found it through BookTube. So there's this booktuber named Pax Panic, and she briefly passed away. But
God rest and bless.
Yeah, she was battling cancer. But through her, like I've just met like so many people that do like poetry and BookTube, and they all kind of have the same mindset that I have. It's like, okay, it's not all about me. Let's build everybody else up around us.
3,000%. 3,000% agreeing with you on this. And I'm going to definitely link Pax's channel below too, because if you want to talk about someone who believed in what you just said and cultivated it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Even those of us who just watched Pax on the quiet. Bless you, my friend. Bless you. So As far as building a community goes, have you considered looking into spoken word poetry and things of that nature
Oh
as
God.
options on your channel? Because some of what you ladies do overlap a little bit with that, like with spoken word performances and things.
I don't know. I feel like I've gotten better with like doing videos on YouTube.
Very.
I feel like being like trying to do spoken word, I would just be out in the sea, like just staring out at the crowd, like not have any words.
Would you be entertained to hosting one, like as part of your Poets Corner or things of that nature on your channels?
Yeah, we wanted to do a poetry open mic, and we actually did one last night.
It lasted about an hour, and you ladies, you do so many different things. You talk with your people in chat. You also, is it your poetry you share or poetry of others?
Both.
And just definitely please check it out for sure. So they use that to give back to the community, and you've mentioned some amazing people already who belong to the authortube and writing communities at large. Are there any other people you would like to mention that we have not yet already? I like to do a give back shout out to the community as we wind
down. There's so many people I follow.
This is true. Lauren follows, and so does Nicole to agree. Like everybody. I see you ladies. Like with Mama Maggie, I see you guys everywhere.
An hour later, one found name crawled across the street.
1 hour later. You just SpongeBobbed me, woman. How dare you?
Why not? I do it at work every day. Because, some people there special. I'll just say that.
So who would you like to shout out to from the community, if anybody?
So aside from who I already mentioned, author J.M. Chile.
Oh yeah, they run the Writers Lounge.
Writers Club on Facebook. Yeah.
Writers Club on Facebook. Thank you.
Enough.
I think I belong to both, is why I was like, wait a minute, which one is it? I might belong to two groups called that. JM does a lot to help with self-promo. You're active in that group for sure. Love it. Love it. So I'll link them below for sure. Now, for you yourself and for anything you may be doing with your sister, what are any upcoming events, launches, and so on that we can find you next? Recap anything you've already mentioned. Repeat anything that needs to be shared. Go.
Okay. Like I said, I'm doing another anthology, and it's going to be paranormal themed, and it'll be called Realm of Mayhem. And if anybody wants to submit poem or short stories that are under 5,000 words, the deadline is October 1st. And on the YouTube end, I wanted to bring back the writing sprints to kind of like have accountability for myself, because I like to procrastinate, but also help anybody else that wants to come and write. And they're going to be Saturdays at 11 a.m. Eastern.
I was going to say, you're going to be following me a little bit right there on Saturdays, so definitely so. Please check out their writing sprints. And you girls give such good, like, spot on encouragement and advice there. So definitely thank you for hosting those. Will we see more Poets Corner and poetry things?
Yes. We want to bring back the Poets Corner and possibly do a monthly open mic night. But just trying to figure out the logistics of the date and the time, what would be best for more people to show up. It wasn't dead. We did have people show up, but I like hearing other people come on and read their stuff.
This is true. This is true. I agree. It is such a pleasure to listen to people share their stories, no matter what genre or format they release it in. For sure.
I mean, I guess what I could do for what I did for the writing sprint was put a poll on my community tab and see if I get answers.
That would be a good way to go for sure. Yeah, I would not blame you for wanting to consider that route. I usually get good feedback from my community tab that's straightforward, honest, to the point. And if they don't want to post it in public, they're always welcome to post it to me privately, right?
Right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending some time today with me, my friend. I look forward to seeing all you have coming down the pipeline, and I cannot wait to see Hunted and your poetry get out there and see you more on the authortube. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
This was indeed.
You only made me cry once. Almost.
I wasn't trying to make you cry, but I can't hug you and make you feel that you should take care of yourself. But you know what? Y'all's worth it too. So take care of yourselves. Signing off. Bye.
Bye.